Today we have myself, Kyle, Will, and Griffin, and we are going to be talking about the anime movie Redline, which was a Madhouse production that came out in 2009, I think,
Yeah.
and it had took like 7 years to make because it has like so many goddamn frames of animation, and this anime is just like insanely beautiful to look at just because of the the crazy like visual design and just like the complete fluidity of the animation. Um, and there were so many scenes that really did a great job, I thought, of like conveying speed. Like this anime just really like the scenes where the shit is going fast, like you really feel that shit. And I think it's pretty great. What did you guys think?
Yeah, this movie reminds me a lot of what's that the people that made Gurren Lagann and Kill la Kill. What's that movie they made?
Promare.
Yeah, it kind of gave me like a Promare vibe in that it's not like super plot intensive. Like I don't really care what's going on in regards to the plot too much. I think this plot's a little bit better than Promare, but every time they're getting ready to race or they are racing, it's intense and it's a lot of fun to watch. And I just think with the animation style and the intensity, and they like do the close up shots of like the car and like the fuel being like the nitro being injected to the engine. It's just so sick. And oh boy, they go fast.
Yeah, I would honestly, I think I'd say it's less plot, less plot focused than Promare, but like Promare wanted to be more plot, it tried to have more plot than it needed, and this one knew that it didn't need a lot of plot, and it didn't have the plot. Like it didn't have a plot, but it knew that it didn't need to have a plot, and I was okay with it because like I'm watching this to go fast, and I'm watching this because I want to see these guys go fast and like these racers, and like it was a good example of like a way to get me interested in like a world. Like it was pretty decent world building, like especially when I think the biggest moment for me was when the bioweapon appeared. Funky Boy, I think it was called.
Yeah, Funky Boy.
And I was just like, whoa, that thing's really cool. And it's like murdering everything. And apparently it's banned by this convention or something like that. And it's just like all this like information comes out about it. And it's like still extremely mysterious. But I'm just like, how do they all know this is a bioweapon? What the heck is a bioweapon? Why does it look like that? How do they get their hands on it? And it was like a good way of getting me to ask questions. And yeah, I thought that was pretty good. Character wise, like I don't know, it was all right. Characters they did what they had to do. I wasn't particularly invested in any of them, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I like with going off like the bioweapon thing, like when just like another thing that like made it like really, really satisfying and cool to see was like the sound design during that part. Like hit the bioweapons like Funky Boy's beams that he
Yeah.
shot out just like had like such a unique sound, and like you knew like that shit was going down when like you heard that. And like yeah, I was just like this movie is just so fun to enjoy just like on a completely visceral level. Like this isn't like super deep. This isn't like very like thought provoking. It's literally just like a movie where it is just so fun like moment to moment that it just like basically carries you through the entire thing. And there wasn't like really a moment where I was like not where I was bored, just because like there's always something cool to look at, or like the scenes are so good at like conveying like whatever emotion they're trying to convey. Yeah, I just really like that shit.
I was maybe a little bored between the first 20 minutes and the last 40 minutes because like those are the two races. And like there was a scene where JP was just like going to the mechanic and he's like, I need this car. He's like, you can't get this car. It's gonna blow up. And he's like, no, you make the car. And then Frisbee's like, I got the touch. I'm telling you, I got the touch. And I was like, okay, sure. And then there was like
Yeah.
I kind of liked Sanchi as well. I mean, she was okay. I thought that like her development was fine. And so when they spent a lot of time with those two and then the car dynamics, I was like, okay, but like I really want to see them go fast. But the scene where JP like went to the Robo World like neutral zone, and he like bought the cigarettes and got the money exchanged. That was really funny, and those characters were hilarious. Where he's like, "Okay, like here's the money, give me the exchange," and the dude just like freaks the fuck out because he's like, "Are you sure this is enough?" And he's like, "We're closed." And I wish I would have seen more of that, more wacky characters, because one more moment they had of it was what's that guy's name? Deizuna, that Robo World dude who like showed up at that like seafood restaurant, and he was just
Oh
like,
yeah, the guy who was crying.
yeah, he was pretty funny. I wish they would have thrown in more characters like that to fill the void, because those were my two favorite non racing scenes. And
I
yeah.
also really liked I really liked the part like leading up to the race where we they show like a little like TV spot for all of the racers. And we kind of like learn all about them like through how they're shown like on TV like to like kind of get people hyped up for the races. Just because they were also like wacky and they all like had like kind of like their own like unique kind of like gimmick and the like TV spot kind of like reflected that. Like you have like the two kind of like sex pot ones who are literally just there to be sexy. And then you have like the bounty hunter guys, you have like the crooked cop, like just like all of the like introductions were so like unique and memorable that like when they show up later in the race, you're like, oh, these guys, like I love these guys. You like you only saw them in like one scene. Pretty great stuff. Uh, but yeah, also like what you were saying about like the scenes on like the DMZ, where like there was all of like the weird aliens and shit. Like this movie, I feel like is so good at like having like so much shit going on in the frame and like all of it is moving. There's just like so much animation like in this movie. It's like crazy how they were able to like do all of that shit. And I mean it totally makes sense that it took them like 7 years to make just because there's so much movement in every scene. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, Griffin was talking about like the time between the two races, and I agree that I was a little bored. And I like the part where they were like they were getting some development with JP and Sonashi, and like they like hang out for a bit or whatever. But then like after that, it's more like and you get him to go into the place with the cigarettes. But like after that, it's like it kind of just seemed like it was like a montage of them watching the news or whatever, and then you've got like the brief him doing the demo run with the car, and then he crashes and lands in the field of flowers. Um, I would have liked to see maybe like more interaction, like JP interacting with the other racers or something, getting some more development out of them and like how he views them. And then there's like some random stuff that they introduce, but they don't end up covering again. Like I thought it was gonna be a point because they mentioned after the first race, like, oh, you're gonna need weapons on your car or something. Like he's like, oh, I don't use weapons. Those are dirty tricks. This is a race, not a fucking war or something like that. And I thought that was gonna come into play later. Like maybe he would have to challenge those beliefs or something like that, and maybe he would have like a secret weapon or something to defend himself. And that wasn't really touched on again. I don't think. And then also, he keeps like making a point to like try to tell Sonashi like or like ask her if he remembers him from when he first met her. And there's like a flashback scene, and he doesn't really ever cover that, and they don't go over it. And the movie, I thought that could have been like something that they would bond over after the bioweapon is first attacked or like killed, like something that would be introducing like for their characters to like jump forward and like form a closer bond. She's like, oh, I remember you, etc., etc. And then kind of capping it all off, I thought the end was a bit abrupt. It was really just the end of the race, and they say like, I love you, and then the movie ends. um Maybe that was, I'm sure that was a deliberate choice, but I thought maybe like literally like 2 more minutes post race I would have been satisfied with.
I kinda like the fact that it ends so abruptly just because, like, the last, like, 40 minutes of the movie is basically just, like, nonstop balls to the walls insanity, and so I feel like it kinda, like, fits with that to kinda just, like, end it with the race ending because the race is just, like, the most important thing in the whole movie. So it's like the fact that he wins the race is just, like, that is, like, the most important thing, like, that's, like, all we really care about, and, I don't know, I kinda like that it just ends kind of abruptly. but I can see how that could be off-putting.
One hindrance to like, I guess one of my biggest complaints about the races, I think that everything was really, really good in terms of the animation and like art and the speed of the cars, But I don't know, like the backdrop for the races, like the first one was like all brown, and I think that I like that one better just because it was like a desert and it had more of a vibe to it. But I don't know, something about Robo World, I'm like, this looks kind of gross. Like it's just straight gray everywhere. I don't know. I would have liked to seen a more unique landscape for the final race. I don't know. Maybe that's just
No,
me, but
I don't know. I actually like the fact that it's like kind of like that all of the color for like for the especially for the Robo World race is coming from like the cars and like their weapons and shit like that. Just because like I love the concept that like this race is occurring on like some like hyper regimented like military installation that like doesn't even want them to be there. So it's like I don't know. I kind of like the contrast between like the racers who are like disrupting this like super like rule based environment and just like introducing their own brand of like chaos into like the entire thing and the entire setting. I thought
Yeah,
that
I
was
actually
cool.
love the entire like this race is like the biggest race in the galaxy and we will put it wherever we want, and they put it on this like hyper militaristic world and they're like you can't have your race there, and then they send like another like good example of making me ask questions. They send like some she like seemed like a demigod almost, like she just makes a racetrack there and makes a finish line, and they're just like, how the fuck do we stop this? And then then they start trying to disintegrate the transport ship that comes out using illegal like super advanced hyperdimensional technology to start the race, and they try to vaporize it, and they can't. And it just seemed like it was like so interesting. Like this is such a big race, and they have illegal hyperdimensional technology to start the race, and they can literally put it wherever they want. Especially like this Robo world, which is hyper militaristic, extremely like secluded, I guess, or I don't know, extremely powerful. And yeah, I thought that was a really cool and very interesting point uh, that got me more invested in the entire world.
yeah, I thought the addition of Robo World was pretty funny. I wish they would have gone more overboard with Robo World, just because of how intense their art and like their mannerisms were. I wish, and like they're like, okay, release the bioweapon, and they're like, oh fuck, dude, the bioweapon is too big. Okay, blow up, vaporize the bioweapon, and I'm like, oh fuck, it didn't vaporize. Okay, make a new bioweapon and attack the bioweapon with the new bioweapon. And I thought it was pretty funny, and I think I would have liked the voice actors, I guess, or the writers to have them be a lot more over the top and like ridiculous, or even emotive. I don't know. They seem like a little bland, especially for how ornate and like how much screen time they got. They got a lot of screen time, and I feel like a lot of the time it was just like them like giving orders. So it's like we'll make that part more interesting. Like make them like spaz out or like freak out, like that guy that was like crying ridiculously. Like it would be funny if that was like a common trait between like all the Robo World people, is that they just have a tendency to cry a lot. I don't know, something. I just thought they were like maybe a little bit too bland, but I like the addition of them in general. I thought it added a lot of interest in that they were trying to defend their military base from the racers, but maybe spice them up a little bit.
I really liked all of the designs for the Robo World guys. Like I really like their ships. They're kind of like pods that they went into to chase him
Yeah.
out. And like all of their like weapons were really cool and like had like they had like a pretty unified aesthetic. Which is like pretty cool to see contrasted with all of like the racers, like the cars, like all of the racers' cars were like pretty unique and like really fit their own personalities,
Hmm.
which I also thought was really sick.
I like
Um,
the two like thought sisters, and their car literally turns into the thing, and like each of them are in a boob, and it's those guys are pretty funny. I like the two brothers. I think they're brothers or just the two guys that were like kind of schemy. I like those guys
Yeah,
as
like the bounty hunters. It was like
yeah,
Lynchman and
yeah.
Johnny
Those
something.
guys were like
Yeah.
very schemy. Like they literally like attached themselves to the cop guy and then they launched themselves out. Those guys are pretty funny. Um,
Yeah, their car was sick. It had like a grappling hook,
yeah, their
like
car
that
was
they
super cool. All the
yeah.
cars were really cool, honestly. Um,
And of course, what was his name? Like the machine head.
oh,
The
I think his
the guy
cars
who
might be
was
my least favorite.
dude, but like his like transformation at the end was so sick. Like how he like 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 the entire movie, how we've basically been seeing like people like use the nitro by like well we've mostly been seeing JP
Oh yeah,
do
and
it,
then he eats it.
but and then he
Yeah.
just like eats it, and then like his head just like catches on fire, and his like car does like a sick transformation. Like I thought that was really cool. And
Um,
plus just how he's introduced is really sick. Like how he just like comes into like the restaurant or whatever where they're all eating, like and then he just doesn't give a fuck about any of the Robo World guys.
yeah, he was like huge when he walked in that restaurant.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, I actually loved his design. He looked like a Power Ranger like
He reminded me of
antagonist.
Galactus.
Yeah.
Galactus? What's that from?
It's from Marvel. He's like this massive guy that's like the
Yeah, he
size
has
of
like a square head
he's
kinda.
got a very square head.
Oh. Yeah, I could see it.
Um, design wise, I'm not this might be a unpopular opinion, but like I appreciate the very diverse and very thought provoking designs for like background characters, but I'm gonna say right now I was physically repulsed by many of them. They made me they made me incredibly uncomfortable, especially like I don't know, like I appreciate the art that went into it, but like I hated them. It reminded me of like when I was a kid and I watched Spirited Away, I was so fucking like repulsed and like scared by um what's her name? Baba, the old lady with the
You
giant
Baba.
yeah, her and then like a bunch of other characters, and this was like more grotesque than that from like young me, of course. But yeah, I was just so like repulsed by a lot of the character designs, and it made me uncomfortable.
I thought that was pretty cool though, because I feel like so many like um anime and also just sci-fi in general is like afraid to like make aliens that look like genuinely weird, and like that's like pretty much like how aliens would probably look. Like there's no way that we're going to like run into aliens that are just like the same as us except just like a different color, or like they have extra eyes or limbs or whatever. Like these aliens are like legitimately alien, and I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, speaking of gross aliens, I remember like that opening scene where it was like that little girl and like her dad like fiddling with the camera,
Yeah, those guys are
and
gross.
she looked like she was like 90 years old. But
All like the crowd people are gross, dude.
but it was sick when they were like, fiddling with the camera or whatever, and then the cars go by for like maybe half a second.
Yeah, that
And
was
then
awesome.
and then they're all just like, "Fuck yeah, woo!"
That's like the best opening. Like that just like sets the tone like immediately for the movie. It's just like this movie is gonna be fucking fast. Like that was so cool. I love like the opening race in general, but also just like everything like up until that part, like where the cars just fly by all the spectators. So cool. So fucking cool.
I wish this is kind of nitpicky, but like when with Sonoshi, like her big thing was like, or I guess like her car's like ability was like it was like a hover car and it could like basically handle any terrain, and a lot of the times she went over water. And I remember in the flashback she was like running into tires, and I was like, why don't they make her like crash into a lake or something to like make it seem like she developed like a car that could handle like I don't know. This might be like a little bit too specific and a little bit too nitpicky, but I like to see characters like make decisions that they learned, that they had that like a previous or a history of mistakes with. And her issue was like, oh, she kept crashing into the wall. And I thought it would have made more sense if she would have developed a car that solved an issue she had when she was younger. Pretty nitpicky, but it was something that I thought
Kind of
of.
going off that, what I didn't understand was like the opening monologue was like about uh we advanced like as a race and like we're in space now and like everything's futuristic, but some people still like the tires on the pavement, and then Sonoshi's car just doesn't have tires, and I think I think everyone else's in the race had wheels. Most of them, at least, had wheels, and Sonashi's just didn't. And I was like, I thought that was like a prerequisite for these races, but I guess not.
Yeah, I
Um,
don't think these races have very many rules, considering they're like literally allowed to like shoot rockets at each other.
yeah, I don't know. It just kind of seemed like weird that everyone else was like, in quote unquote cars with tires, but hers was just a hover car.
It's the galaxy's oldest anarchy race. Pretty specific meme, but we know it.
Yeah.
Let's see. I guess we can talk about JP a bit. We haven't even really talked about him. I thought he was pretty solid. His art design, his hair, his like comb knife, like he was like a relatable like MC because like he had a couple moments where he just like fucked up and went trying to be a cool dude, like at the restaurant when the Robo World military
Yeah.
came, and he was like, "Hey guys, you got to get out of here," and they just knocked him out immediately. I thought that was pretty funny, and it makes sense because JP is kind of like an underdog, but he gets the ladies, so he's a cool dude.
One thing with JP that I really loved, was, like, the how they kind of, like, show, at one point where I don't remember, like, what prompted the scene, I think it might have been, like, someone, like, asking him about, like, why he wanted to be a racer or something, and, like, it shows, like, him as, like, a really, really young kid, and he's just, like it's basically, like, clearly a flashback 'cause, like, there's, like, no background, everything is, like, white and washed out, and he just sees, like, this, like, golden, like, racer guy who had just, like, won a race or something, and, like, he just, like, they're, like, 2 ladies on his arm, and he basically just, leans over and just, like, kisses both of them at the same time, and JP and it just shows, like, JP's face as a kid, and he's just, like, wide-eyed, open mouth, and he's just basically like, "This guy is the coolest dude ever, and I wanna be like this guy." And then, like, later on, like, way later, like, at the very end of the movie, when, like, he's about to win the race and, like, he, like, sees the finish line, like, right in front of him, it just, like, shows, like, the same kind of style of scene, and it's, like, him, like, passing the gold racer dude, and he's just like, "Holy shit, like, I'm about to, like, achieve my fucking dreams." Like, that shit got me hard, like, that was so sick, and, I love how there was, like, no dialogue that, like, ever mentioned, like, who the gold guy was or anything like that. It was just, like, something that was, like, in his mind and had been, like, driving him this entire time, and, like, that he finally, like, got some sort of, like, internal closure that he kind of, like, felt like he had achieved his dream at the very end. Ooh, that's good stuff, like, that was awesome.
Yeah, I liked how they kind of just alluded to his motivation a lot, and like they even made a conversation between him and Sonoshi where he was like, I'm not gonna tell you, basically, is what he said. And I did like that. I think that we understood everything we needed to know from that like 30-second clip, and I agree with you, Kyle. It was really cool at the end, like seeing having him like, you know, have that in his mind at that moment because that's what he's been aiming for. And it was a good
Yeah.
closure for me. I actually also agree with I think it was you, Kyle, that said like you like the movie ending abruptly. And I do too. I think that that last like fucking 40 minutes is just like insane, insanity, and then just closing off with that flashback, and then he gets the girl, and so he's living that dream by being this famous racer and getting the girl. Like, what more do we need to know? And
Yeah.
I
God, like, this is not a very, like, emotional movie, but, like, that part at the end, like, I was actually like, "Fuck, dude," like, I was getting a little choked up, like, that was some real shit, like, that was awesome. I just love it when you just see the characters achieving their dreams, like, and especially when they had to work fucking hard, and you know that JP had to work hard to get to his dream, and, it paid off.
Any thoughts on JP, Will?
He was good. I mean, like I said at the beginning, I don't think any of the characters like really piqued my interest. I did like JP out of them the most. I mean, I guess it'd just be like between JP and Sonoshi. But yeah, I guess as a main character, he was good. He didn't like I don't know. I didn't feel very attached to him. I kind of figured like main character's gonna win the race. It's pretty pretty standard. The most interesting dynamic was him and his, for me at least, was him and his like manager. I like the backstory with
Frisbee.
yeah, Frisbee. Him and Frisbee and the mob, and he's like talking to. I think he was talking to Sonashi. He was like, "Yeah, like my first race, I was racing for Frisbee's life, basically." Um, and they go into it a good amount. I just, like I said, I thought some kind of like either something between him and Frisbee at the end. I would have liked. That was probably my biggest complaint for the movie ending so suddenly. Was like this big thing, like Frisbee's just like betrayed the mob or whatever, just so because he feels so strongly for JP and JP's racing ability. And then you like obviously like the win's a big thing, but like something between him and Frisbee that resolves that conflict that they may have, because like Frisbee's been sabotaging him this whole time and like risking his life or risking JP's life by literally blowing up his car. And I guess that helps him win in the end. But like, I don't know. Yeah, like I said, I would have liked some kind of scene resolving their differences or their them coming to a higher understanding of each other, I guess.
That's fair. I just feel like with Frisbee, I don't know, I don't feel like he was ever really developed that strongly. He had a purpose for sure, but I feel like his redemption was definitely just being like, you know what, JP deserves to win this, and then him and the Bug Man, I don't remember what his name is, but the guy that looked like that Hunter x Hunter Chimera ant, taking down the mafia together and using. It was cool how they used the explosion to give him
Yeah,
that last bit of boost to win the race. But
Yeah, I like that.
he reminded
I
me
just
of
also
the.
really like. Oh, go ahead.
He reminded me just really quickly. He reminded me of the old man with the coal in also from Spirited Away. You know, the guy with the
Oh yeah, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
yeah.
yeah. He reminded me of that guy. All right, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, I really like how, like, at the end, like, Frisbee just sort of like recognizes that, like, well, okay, yeah. That another thing that I really like about Frisbee is like that. It's pretty clear that like from the very beginning, like the only reason that he got involved in the mafia, like they say, was like to acquire like better parts for like JP's like for his car so that he could like, be more successful and like uh they could win as a team. And so like, all of this like other like fixing the race stuff, like he just sort of like got pulled into because of like the fact that he originally just wanted he had the same dream, like they wanted to win the race together. And I feel like at the end, like I really like how he just sort of says, you know what, like we've made it all the way here, like I'm not gonna like this is what really matters, like this is why I got involved in all of this to begin with. And I mean, this is something else where it's like not really like explained, but I can, just from the little details that they kind of like said earlier on about the reason why he was involved in the mafia to begin with, um, and just like also like how happy he was at the end, him and the old guy when he was winning, was, I just love that like kind of like remembering like what their whole purpose was this whole time. I kind of like that aspect of his arc, even though it wasn't like super fleshed out or like super well developed. It was pretty simple, but it was pretty effective.
Um, One like funny small thing. At some point they brought up like Sonashi's like nickname, and it was like Cherry Boy Hunter or
Yeah,
something.
Cherry Boy Hunter.
And I'm like, does that mean that she's like going after like dude's cherries?
I'm
Probably.
not sure what it's supposed to mean.
I mean, if I were
I,
to,
I would
she's like a
guess.
virgin hunter.
Also, they kept calling her Crab Sonashi, and I don't understand that. Was that her like char name?
Yeah, I mean, maybe because she's like kind of like can go on water. I don't know. Like, I think that might have just been her name. Was like her first name
No,
was
her name was
Crab.
Sonashi McLaren though.
Oh, that's right. Okay, yeah. Then I guess it's probably just from her car, is what I would guess. Also, like she did order lobster at the restaurant. Maybe she likes crab. I don't know. Like
I think it might
that's
have just
probably
been like some issue with
it's.
translation, maybe.
Oh, that could be it. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like it isn't, but be wrong.
Yeah, I want to like Sonoshi, but after talking about it for so long, like I really think they might have messed her up a little bit. Like it was so confusing when they were like, okay, they know each other, but she doesn't remember him, and now she loves him. I don't
Yeah, I
know.
think she could have been
Well,
fleshed out
okay,
better.
I think the romance is definitely rushed, but, like,
Yeah.
whatever. Like, it wasn't really a huge focus of the movie. I did like the fact that she was, like, kind of like she was, like, the one who kind of, like, ins inspired him to, like, never give up. I think that was kind of, like, the purpose of, like, that flashback was that he was, like, he was given inspiration by how she was kind of, like, so willing to just be like, to just try and get back out there, and she was like, "No, like, fuck you, like, don't laugh at me, like, you're not even trying to do anything, like, you're just watching." And, like, I kind of like that that was, like, what inspired him to, like, get off his ass and, like, actually follow what he was dreaming of since he was a little kid. Um, but yeah, I do kinda think that their romance was, like, pretty like, from her perspective, like, what was her reason to fall in love with him? Like, was it really just because he won the race? Like, that's fine, it's just not very, like, this isn't, like, the best anime romance ever, it's just pretty it's not that good, but it's not really given that much focus, so
Also,
I
in
forgive
like
it.
after the bioweapon incident, they're literally just like he's like trying to get his car flipped over, and she's like laying against it, and they're just like having a long ass conversation in the middle of a fucking race. Like that depends on time, and I feel like they could have talked about that, while they were in the car or something. I just felt like that was kind of weird. Like, let's not use our time to the best of our abilities. Her dream is literally to win this race, and she's like ruining her one chance to win the race. I
But
mean,
it all worked out in
it
the
ends up
end, so it's
working out,
fine.
but like,
I did like the moment where like her car gets ruined and then they go back into his car and she like sits on his lap. I'm like, dude, he must feel really good right now.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Like, dude, he's on cloud nine. Like, he's like about to win the biggest race of his life, and the cutest girl in school just sat on his lap. He's vibing.
Yeah.
But to go circle back a little bit, just because we kind of glossed over it. But I did. I know I said like, oh, I thought it was kind of boring, like between like the first two races or the first and the last race. But when they did like the character introductions, like some of them are really fucking funny. Like the one
Yeah.
with the two like dudes that had the car that could drill, and one guy's just eating a banana, and the other one's like, "Gory, you motherfucker!" and then it just cuts out. I was like, "What the fuck is going on?" That was
Yeah,
funny.
that was pretty epic.
And
Yeah,
then
I really liked all of those, like, they were a highlight for me for sure.
And then the other one was like the policeman might be my favorite, where it's like, "Sir, don't you think you use too much like force for a speeding ticket?" And he's like, "Shut the fuck up." And he's like, "Do you have any comments on your adulterous relationship with your second in command?" And then he just like punches him or something. That was pretty great.
Yeah, I love how high test everyone is in this movie.
yeah.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it is a very masculine movie.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, I mean, I actually do think that, like, one of the, like I think this movie is paced really well, like, I think it would be too much if it was, like, the entire movie was just racing, like, I like how there's kind of, like, in the middle, there's, like, some, uh, it's more of, like, a real movie where there's, like, plot and stuff. I mean, not that much plot, but, like, character introductions and stuff like that, and we kinda, like, get to, like, see the setting more. Because if it was just nonstop racing, then, like, none of it would have any impact, Like, the entire reason that, like, the Redline race has so much impact is because we've been, like, learning about Robo World and, like, the circumstances of the race and, like, how just insane it is that, like, we're literally racing on a military installation, and we've kinda, like, learned more about JP's, like, dreams and his backstory and stuff. Not, like, super deep or anything, but I think that it definitely makes the end feel so much more insane considering that we've had kind of like a low key kind of, sequence on, like, the desert world where it's just kind of been, like, JP chilling and, like, preparing for the race, and then the race happens and it just shit hits the fan.
Yeah. Also, the subplot with the bioweapon, uh, that with the miners that were like revolting. That like
Yeah.
didn't end up mattering. It felt like because
Well,
they didn't.
I think that's the reason that the bioweapon got released at all.
No, because there was the one drill guy that literally released it. He
Oh,
Oh,
literally
yeah.
that's
ran.
right. Yeah. No, but that's like funny. Like I
I
thought
mean,
that was
yeah, it's funny,
hilarious.
but like I don't know. I feel like they spent a lot of time on that just one joke. Like they had like
I think
multiple
it's
scenes
okay.
prior to that. Like they had them going to bed and then them fighting the robots and stuff. I guess like I
Well,
don't
it's
know. It
funny, but
was
it's also build up, because you're like the entire time, like the reason that I was like, oh, that's like for the bioweapon is because like that entire time I was like, oh, like I wonder like what crazy shit they're gonna like release because of this. And it's like, like that's like building up the bioweapon, and like the bioweapon definitely lives up to the hype because it just like
yeah. I
completely
don't know. I
stops
feel
the
like the build up
race.
for the bioweapon for me was more the military guys being like, "Oh God, if they go here, they're gonna release the bioweapon. That thing's banned, and the fucking world's gonna see it or whatever." And then I don't know. I feel like that did a lot more for building up the bioweapon than the
That's
miners
fair.
being
I kind
insane.
of think it's funny whenever they like build up like like I think that it's like clever when like the buildup turns out to like be like legitimate like dramatic buildup for like setting stakes and things, but also like a setup for a joke. Like that's like pretty funny. Like I think that's like good writing because it's like basically doing like two things at once. At
Yeah,
least I don't know.
yes.
I,
For
I
me,
like it.
I didn't like laugh at it just because I was so interested in like the bioweapon being released. I was like maybe the joke just went over my head.
Sorry, what was the joke?
Well, the
The
joke we're just
miners who
talking
were
about
banned.
how like the miners were like basically set up to like be to like release the bioweapon. They were like drilling and they were like, oh, we're gonna like fuck them up. We're gonna destroy this whole thing by like releasing the bioweapon. But then it like didn't actually end up being them that released it. It was the drill guys, right?
It was
Uh,
the drill car.
Yeah.
okay. Oh, okay. Yeah, I see what you guys are saying.
I mean,
Yeah,
it's kind of a meta.
that's funny. Yeah, I didn't really care about the miners revolting that much. I mean, like, yeah, just like the whole Robo World subplot, I think could have been done in a more focused way. I feel like they were throwing a lot of information at us. I wish they would have honed in on like maybe one or two leaders of the Robo World and like left it at that. I don't know. And I feel like I wish they would have been like funnier because like it's hilarious that their planet is being invaded for a fucking NASCAR race and they're doing everything in their power to stop it and they can't. Like the whole situation is hilarious. And then I don't know, I felt like the voice actors and the writing for it was just fell kind of flat and they threw in all these details. I don't know. I think they could have made that way more comical and I would have liked it a lot more just because the situation is so funny. And I don't know, it feels like you kind of have to dig the humor out of it a little bit. I don't know.
Well, I don't know. I just like the it's just conceptually great. Like the fact that they're racing on this like this military installation, and like you have like these guys who are like literally doing everything they can to maintain order, and the race is just causing chaos.
Mhm.
And like I don't know, I like it.
Yeah, no, I agree. The concept is good. I feel like they threw too much shit into it, and it kind of made it a little bit too fuzzy. Like there was too much stuff going on. Like people were revolting. They had a bioweapon. They had to go pull a dude out, and then he wanted to race, and then the Robo people are fighting at the same time, and it
I
was.
thought it was great when he was like, sorry, Captain, I can't take those orders. Like I'm in the race now. Like that was awesome.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. That was pretty funny.
Yeah, and especially since like he had been established before as being like super emotional and like he would like literally get stronger when he cried. Yeah, that guy was awesome.
Yeah, I like that part, but I don't know. I'd probably have to watch it again to really pick apart the Robo World whole scene. But I think it was a good addition in general. Let's see.
Music wise, I don't know. Nothing really like stood out to me.
The two idols, whenever they were on, I remember the
Yeah,
music being really good when they were
I kind of
on.
vibed with that, but then other than that, I was just like, yeah,
It's pretty. I don't know. I feel like it definitely enhances the hype of the
oh yeah,
of
I'm
the
sure it
movie.
did.
But like, yeah, I definitely agree that it doesn't really stand out on its own. But I think that it fits extremely well.
Yeah, it works. It works with the. It doesn't take away anything from the action. It works with the action, and but like it's not like yeah.
I feel like with, shows like this, I feel like for action shows, this might be a hot take, it's harder to have good music because I feel like when you're in a really emotional moment, there's a lot of quiet and there's a lot of emphasis on the audio, which would be the music. And there's a lot of like silent moments between characters and minimal dialogue, and people are crying, and it's like about like the human relationship, I guess. And in this show, it's about like way more than that. There's a lot going on the screen. There's a lot of noise. There's a lot of visual distractions. It's very high octane, and the music is always going to be in the back seat. No pun intended. When watching a very action oriented movie show, whatever.
I mean, I would say just as a counterexample, because we compared it to it earlier with Promare. Promare had a fucking great soundtrack, and like while I was watching it, like there's plenty of action in Promare, and like during those action scenes, which are pretty high octane themselves, I was like, wow, the fucking music's really hitting right now. And like I don't know, like that's a pretty
I wouldn't say it doesn't exist. I think Promare's music was good. Another one would be like Kill a Kill. It can be good. I think it's harder for it
Yeah,
to
I
be
think
good.
they both had the same guy who did the music. I think it was
yeah.
Solomon.
I don't know. I
I think
think
he
it's
also did Attack on Titan as well.
I think it's harder to compare for like a show has like a pretty it's got a longer runtime to like build motifs and music. So like when
Yeah.
those motifs hit later on, they're more hype. But like a movie like Redline or Promare doesn't have the same time, so it doesn't get you familiar with like musical motifs or whatever.
That's a good point.
Um, but like Promare did it without having to do that, which I appreciated. Like I said, Redline's music isn't bad, and it definitely amplifies the action. But like I didn't think it was anything crazy good.
That's fair. Yeah, I can't remember bits and pieces of the two idols whenever their music played. It was pretty poppy, and that's like it. I don't really remember any of the
Yeah,
music.
that was the big thing. But I guess just like a small note, I think my favorite part of the animation was whenever they put Nitro in and like they would have them like zoomed out and like fucking
Yeah, like how they were all stretchy.
like slobbering. Like I'm looking at the poster right now on Wikipedia, and it's literally like JP's I don't know what his hairdo is called, but like
Oh,
They called it a duck bill.
yeah, I don't know. The poster is like his duck bill is stretching out across the poster, and I'm like, that's like a great example of like how they use it, especially like at the very end, like them stretching out in the car together because they just put in this like mega nitros. That was awesome. Those are my favorite parts for sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
Also, like right after those, whenever the car would like,
Yeah,
it
yeah.
looked like it was just like it was like zooming off. It looked like they were like struggling to control the car because
Yeah.
it was like going in every direction at once. And then it would like finally kind of like just go in like one direction like really fast, and that was sick.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that
It
was
like definitely like so many like little tricks like that just like really sell how fast this is. Like it like literally feels like they're like you are going so fast while you're watching the racing scenes.
that was like that little. It was like basically edging, like right when they did that. That was intense.
Yeah.
That was like my favorite part. I'm like, go, just go now. There it is.
Yeah.
That was great. Yeah, the animation, like when JP is in the car, it's like phenomenal. Like it's so good, and just the cell shaded art style is so perfect for this movie too. It's like
Yeah. I love how deep the blacks are. Like all the shadows are like just like really black, and it makes like and they're solid colored black. They're not like just like a darkened version of whatever color the shadow is on. So it really makes like the bright colors pop so much more considering there's so much black on the screen as well.
yeah, it has like a serious like Borderlands vibe for sure. And then honestly, this movie kind of reminded me of Star Wars a little bit.
I could see that. Yeah. And how like it's sort of just like not a lot of it is like really like explained. It's just sort of like it's cool. So like it works.
And they had like mentions of
And
like
how
the
there's like
bounty
an
hunter.
evil like
Yeah.
yeah, there's bounty hunters and there's like an evil empire and there's like a military installation. Yeah, it's definitely a lot of Star Wars vibes. That's for sure.
Yeah, it was just something that came up
And like the gross aliens, like that's definitely
yeah,
something
yeah, and
that
the
Star
gross
Wars does pretty well
aliens.
too.
Yeah.
And the desert world, yeah, holy shit, this is very Star Wars.
Was there anything else? We're about like 47, but we usually run through movies pretty fast.
Oh, speaking of Star Wars, the mega vaporization laser.
Oh, Death Star. There it is.
Well, Death
Yeah.
Star also reminded me of the seismic charges where it like fires and it makes like a big thing and then it just goes completely silent and then just boom boom, and it was fucking sick as hell.
Yeah. Yeah,
Oh
dude, the
yeah.
sound design in this movie was
Yeah, I
consistently
think the
great.
two my two favorite parts about this movie are the visuals and the sounds, like the not the music, but the sound design.
Yeah.
Shit was
Just, like, the
fucking
whole aesthetic of this movie is great. Um, and, like, I'm pretty sure there's, like, 100,000 plus frames of animation in this because a lot of scenes are animated on ones. Um, and it's really, like, really fluid. And, not gonna lie, I don't know if there will ever be another anime like this just because we're kind of, like even a lot of anime movies now are using, like, CGI and stuff, and there's, like, definitely none of that in this. So,
What
this is
was it?
definitely, like, a unique piece of media.
I'm sure we'll eventually get to a spot where they can mimic something like this pretty well.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
true.
but just, like, the amount of effort that went into the movie, like, it's just it's really, really fucking just a testament. It's great.
Oh, and then I guess one more small thing, just the amount of references and talking about like gambling, like really emphasized just like how dirty and gross all like the commoner aliens were.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
exactly the scenes made me feel like gross, just dirty.
Yeah.
they're all like
I feel like a lot of the
huddled
aliens in
up.
this movie are, like, covered in a layer of snot, you know? Like, they're just, like, like, they're, like, sticky and, like, they don't have skin. They're, like, and it's great that the designs and the animation is able to, like, convey that, like, level of detail in, like, the aliens. Like, the designs in this have texture, you know?
Yeah.
It's fucking good.
The fact that the designs could evoke such like a guttural like feeling into me, like says something to the designs.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, one more small note. I really liked the design choice of when they were first entering Robo World. They like got basically like drop pods and they just like landed in the middle of like the slums. It really made it like feel like they were like basically invading that planet
Yeah.
and they were there's like no like ship to take him down or like no like entrance for the racers. They're just like you're on the planet now. Bye.
Also, when the race starts and, like, the cars are literally falling from the ship, and there's just, like, a wall of gunfire, like, coming up
Yeah.
towards them, and a lot of, like, the camera drones are, like, going down and shit, like, it was just like, "Holy shit, this is happening." Like, it was great.
It reminded me of like Band of Brothers when they're jumping out of the airplanes and like they jump out and you see like a bunch of the other planes like burning or whatever and it's just
Even
chaos
though
and
it's, like, completely tonally different, like,
yeah,
couldn't be further from Band of Brothers in tone,
yeah.
Anything
which is
else, sirs?
That's it.
that's it.
All right. I think I gave. Anybody want to go first with the rating?
Sure. I would say I definitely enjoyed watching this movie. I thought it was a really fun ride. The animation is fucking amazing. The sound design is amazing. The music is all right. Characters are all right. Um, Plot is not like they know they don't need like a mega stellar, super interesting plot, so they don't try to like make it deeper than it needs to be, which I appreciated. World building I thought was very or like what they did was good, but then they also got me interested in more world and like I'd be like, hella okay if they made an anime that took it doesn't have to be JP and Sonoshi, but like an anime that took place in this world, I'd be very interested in it just because this got me so interested in like what was going on. I'd probably give this probably like an 8. Yeah.
Yeah, I love the aesthetic of this movie. It's just so amazing on, like, a moment to moment, like, visceral level to just watch and feel this movie, like, it's just so like, it just yeah, it's a unique experience, definitely.
Yeah.
Um, and, like, yeah, like, well, a lot of, like, the elements aren't perfect, like, they're definitely, like, could have been better developed characters or whatever, but I feel like the whole package is, like, more than that, like, it's just so experientially good, um, and, I was so excited to watch this movie again because I'd seen it before, just remembering how great it felt the first time to watch it, and, definitely just felt just as great the second time. So, probably give this a 9. I think this is a great movie, and I would recommend it to pretty much everyone.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that last part. It's like really hard for me not to recommend this movie to anyone. The plot, characters, the subplot, some gripes I had with Robo World, I think being a little flat. They nail the most important part of the movie, and that's the racing and the animation and the art. And then even, the downtime has its highlights, the character introductions, some of the gross aliens and the slums. It all helps to really create an atmosphere of, I don't know, insanity, I guess. Like these people are fucking crazy and they're willing to
Yeah.
risk their lives to go as fast as humanly possible. And for JP, it's something as simple as, I want to be that cool ass dude who gets chicks and drives a nice car with slick back hair. And he's got the hair. All he needs now is to get that W and get the girl. And by the end of the movie, he does all that. And it's just like a really, really fun ride. Um, I'd give this a strong 8, and I'll probably watch it again soon. It's a really fun movie, and it's kind of sad that what we were talking about earlier, that it's likely that nothing like this will be made for a really long time, just because of the amount of time and effort put into the art style, which I love. So yeah, a strong 8, and hopefully we get to see something like this again. But there's no guarantee.
Yep. But we can always watch it again.
True.
That's true. All
It'll
right,
always be there.
that's it for this week. We are signing off.
Cool. Bye.
Bye.